Welcome to Speaking of Influence, the show about presentation skills and influence and persuasion with John Ball from Present Influence. Speaking of Influence is recorded and distributed using Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout makes it easy to record and upload your podcast and get it onto all the major podcasting networks and get your journey into podcasting started. So why not begin your podcast today? Check out the link in the show notes. Welcome back to the show. I'm really happy to have with me a guest today who is helping me further my course into humor and presentation skills and leading with laughter. And she is an award-winning, She is an award-winning comedienne. She is an actress, she is a presenter, and a really fun person to chat with. And let's give you a bit of a taste of what she does just before we fully introduce her today.
I love being online. My first internet friend.
LOL Cindy.
Oh, the pony emoji.
1966 stairs and high-rise flats. Pony side up, now North London's where I reside at. Went for a minute, back with a mic at. I'm on my old school king with a night at. No games and I set off the ting. And set off the ting. When I get on the ting, it's a kill off Khalid, then I set off the ting. Yeah. Bars, sis, bars. Yo, Mark! Who is she supporting, I wonder?
The team, I guess.
Obviously, the team. Yeah. You ain't got no fans, you ain't Man United. Don't take me for no mug.
Amanda's in the house. How you doing, babes? Come on, give us a hug. Think sexy thoughts. Oh, thanks for sharing that.
Hey, it's really cool. Please welcome to the show, Melanie Gayle. Welcome.
Thanks for that lovely welcome, John. Thanks for having me on here. And
It's
hello
really
to
great.
all of your listeners or viewers.
I loved the clips that you sent through to me. I wish we had more time to show them, but people can come and find you and find more about your work and see you in action, and which is definitely well worth doing. But I am delighted that you've agreed to come and be on the show. And when we had a chat about what we would come and talk about, I knew it was going to be a lot of fun because you are an absolute delight to chat with.
Oh,
and
thank you.
and you're hilarious. I mean, you are naturally.
I try. I get it from my dad.
Which makes a lot of sense of why you would go into comedy, but it's one of the toughest areas to go into, right?
It's so tough, and it's like everybody says that comedy's so tough, or they really respect and rate comedians and stuff. And I think that's probably something that made me, like growing up, was funny, like in the family. It was just something at school, you know, the class clown, always telling the jokes, the party starter. It was just like so normal. But to go out as stand-up, I think you do have this thing that's a bit more serious, and you know, it's some kind of more fear to step out of my family and friends circle that tell me that I'm funny and make that step to a stage or an empty room. So it's quite scary and daunting, but I had to get over that fear. It took me a while. Before I actually went out and did comedy for others, you know, out of my circle.
I can absolutely believe it. You know, I've gotten better over the years at putting humor into my presentations, but even now, for me, the thought of going on a stage as a stand-up fills me with dread.
It is scary. What I did at the beginning is I didn't always bring people with me. So then I just realized, you know what, if I go and I fail or no one laughs or whatever, at least no one saw it, sort of thing.
Right.
So I didn't always bring the people that validated me as well. And I wanted to know if I could make others laugh. I knew I could make my family laugh and that.
Yeah, that's
but so it was more of a challenge to go in a room by myself with nobody and just make them laugh. Because I like to challenge myself. And that's what I thought. Okay, I knew I could do that, but to come out of my comfort zone, I don't want my friends laughing at the front, like, go on, Mel, go. Because your friends and family would always support you. But what about strangers? Just a room I've never been to. Yeah. Can I make them laugh? And that's how I kind of went. And I didn't really mind if no one was there. It's like, oh yeah, I know. Then when I got better, I would tell people to come.
Yeah. So you built up your confidence with it. But I think most people would find themselves in the position or feeling that, well, I don't have to do that, so I'm not going to do it. But so what got you past that? Like thinking, no, I want to do this, or even I have to do this.
Well, what happened is on my journey, again, I saw like there was a comedy course, a comedy novices course. And I just thought, okay, I know my kind of comedy, but stand-up, I just thought was something totally different. So I did this comedy novices course. It's about 7 weeks. At the end of it, the last 2 weeks, you write a 5-minute set. And that seemed like forever. Back then, I can talk for hours, easy. But a 5-minute set comedy seemed like a really hard work. And we actually did it in 2.5-minute segments each week. And then at the end, we'd perform at this pub in Hampstead. And that was what I was aiming towards. I thought, okay, if I did the course to get the gig and that. And I, as I said, when I wrote my comedy out, I wrote it as a full 5-minute set.
Yeah.
No breathing, no space for anybody else to interact. It was just like me telling my jokes. They're going to laugh here, they're going to laugh there. That's what I thought. And then when I went and did it, as I said, I'm very animated. You know, I was a bit like Lee Evans. I really like kind of move, I get hot. So I just started doing stuff, actions, maybe my eyes, my face. And they were laughing, things that wasn't on the paper. So I didn't get to do all of my set on the first gig and it threw me. So when people started laughing where it wasn't, I was like, oh, then, okay. Then I was like, okay, then I went with it, but then maybe I lost a bit of the routine. So at the end, it's like, I just wanted to go out there and just do my full 5 minutes again. And then there was a contest called the Golden Jester, somewhere in West End. The advanced comedy people entered it. They didn't get through. My comedy teacher entered it and didn't get through. But he said, Mel, just go there, try your set, you know, get it out of you. You've got nothing to lose. That's why I had that no fear factor. Is my teacher didn't get through. So I wasn't expecting anything other than to perform my set. And that was my second performance. And I got through to the quarterfinals on that gig. And I couldn't believe it. No one could believe it. And I was more shocked, but then I had to carry on from there. So it was a great start. And then I had to carry on because the quarterfinals was in June. So I had to come back in 3 months' time, and I couldn't come back with 2 gigs. Yeah. So the fact that I got through then was very beneficial because it made me carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of validation, external validation that we all need.
Shock, a lot of shock. Then validation, but I couldn't stop because maybe at that stage, if I didn't get through, I might have just gone back to work. Who knows? I wouldn't have had a motive to come out again, but I knew I had to come back in June. So you can't come back without a 3-month gap. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's like, you've got to go out there. So I was doing 3 nights a week and stuff while I was doing the day job, just perfecting it and getting it better. Because I didn't get through at the next one, but it made me carry on, which I think was very important. Yeah.
So do you think now you would have been able to do that still without having done the comedy course, or would it just have been a slower road?
I think for me, from the beginning, the comedy teacher said to me, like the way I put things, the way I am, he said I could go out there. The comedy course for me didn't make me funny, but it gave me the confidence. It gave me the confidence to go out there, which is what I needed, because I had it in my family and I had it amongst my friends. But as I said, you know, a big stage, I didn't necessarily feel so confident, and maybe my stuff was always freestyling. This is now written. So it's, you know, the stuff you do at home it's just you being funny, isn't it? Yeah, but now I've got to write something funny. You know, it's like if you write a song, you write a hit song, but then can you do it again? So you're pressuring yourself to write a hit set, but you might be just funny naturally for years. So it's a bit of pressure to write a funny set.
I have a kind of feeling that one of the reasons why it's easier to be funny with your family and with your friends is because you're generally comfortable and at ease with them.
Yeah. And you don't feel like you're doing an act, whereas I think with stand-up, it's like, you know, you're coming out there and you've got to have something. You've got to have some story, some kind of theme. Are they going to take to it? Some do musical comedy. There's so much different comedy. Are you puns? Are you one-liners? Are you a story? So then it's I naturally found that I'm a storytelling comedian because in my family, this is what we do, tell stories. Oh, did you hear about this? Do you know what I mean? And everybody's trying to be louder than everyone in my family. So I think stories. So I'm like a storytelling comedian. I do a few little one-liners, but I'm about the build and the way I tell it. Which they always do say it's the way you tell it. Some famous comedians say it's the way you say it, and it really is, I think.
But in public speaking, as much as in comedy, stories are a really important part of everything. And I think if I think about my favorite comedians, they're nearly all, or maybe even exclusively, storytellers. rather than joke tellers. They're storytellers, and they bring stories to life, and they bring you into that world, and then they surprise you with something.
And that's the thing.
Yeah,
it's storytelling, the course. But what he did teach me, he gave me arts of stuff. So again, he went through all the puns and all of that. I'm like, I know that's not really. I like the art of that. Very clever. All that is very good, but it's not my style. With the storytelling and stuff, then he would tell you, you take the story and exaggerate it, which is what we kind of do in family. Everyone's always making the story better than it is in your family, So in the comedy, it's like taking a little thing and making it huger, and there sort of was no limit before. Now you've got this cancel culture, you've got to be careful. But before, before you were unlimited in what you could say really as a comedian, but not today, and you've got to be careful. But so it's really interesting. I love it.
Yeah, I think so. I did last year. I did what's called a tall tales competition, which is like taking a real story from your life and wildly exaggerating it, which is a similar kind of thing.
This is the thing. And
it went down pretty well. I won, so I assume it was quite a good story. But people were laughing, and people were very entertained by it. And it's the kind of thing you could do in a comedy stand-up, I guess.
And the beauty of that is it's your story. So what I found is a lot of comedians sometimes steal all the same thing, this and that's a bit samey. But if you got your own sort of stories or something, people really can't copy it, and it makes you unique. When I first started, my story at the time was I lost 4.5 stones. So I lost a lot of weight. And at the time, everybody wanted to lose weight, all these fad diets and everything. But I lost the weight and I didn't want to lose the weight. So I did a reverse sort of thing. I was like, oh my God, the weight's gone, but I don't want to be skinny. So I was like, people wasn't expecting my jokes. So I would get claps from it. And then I'll be like, but I want to be big again. I want to be fluffy. And so it was not what they expected. So I would always go like against the grain. Like again, people always thought I was a singer. When I came out, they know it's a comedy night. They'd see everybody's comedian, but then they'd see me. I used to have a short haircut, like Motown style. Well, it wasn't really, but the guys would be like, oh, Motown, you singing for us tonight? I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm not singing tonight at all. I'm a comedian. It's a comedy night, but I would play on that. So I'd come out and I'd be like, and people think I'm going to do the biggest singing like Whitney or something. And I do the worst singing on the planet, like, absolutely terrible. And that would get them because, again, they was expecting it, but I never told you that's what I do, mate. So I would just go with that and just go with things that people threw at me along the way. And that literally every event, I would start to feel like, oh, so I'm kind of singing. And they'll be like, oh, my God. But that would get them straight away. Yeah, that would get them straight away on side. So it's like winning the room, It's the same as presenting, it's engaging the room.
Yeah, and a lot of comedy is about subverting expectations.
Yes.
People think they're going somewhere, and then all of a sudden there's a contrast that takes them where they weren't expecting to go.
Total flip.
Yeah, and that tends to be almost not a shock to the system, but in some way it is, but enough to be a bit of a surprise. They go, oh, yeah. And our brains respond to it. What sort of things do you generally find funny?
Well, I've got like a really silly humour, so I laugh at like, I'm proper silly. I was like, grew up on, what did we used to watch, like Bottom, all these, when I was going to, Kenny Everett, Red Dwarf.
Everett, my God.
Oh God, I watched silly stuff growing up. Benny Hill. Nowadays, a bit of Keith Lemon. I'd watch a bit of Keith Lemon. I'd watch Kevin Hart. But in general, my humour is just silly. The silliest comedy. I'm not too deep. I like, you can be clever and all that. Like, oh wow, I'd say that's really clever. Sure. But I can just the silliest stuff. Like that's what I enjoy doing now. And again, I think people don't expect. I'm a businesswoman. I've got my own company. People don't expect me to be silly. And so the minute I'm silly, that's a surprise already. Do you know what I mean? Because, people are going to think I'm going to be very serious. I can be very serious, but I'm a comedian and I love to be silly. So my humor style is any stupid stuff. Jim Carrey, Robin, God, what's his name? Yes, Robin Williams. Those type of guys. Naked Gun guy.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yep, him. Growing up on all the kind of films you used to make back in the days. Man of Two Brains and all that. Like Jerk. Silly humors. Yeah. I'm old school as well. Old school films, old school stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great. Do is that representative of your comedy at all? I mean, you just like be playful generally, like you do that in life. Is that what you bring?
Yeah, I think in general, my comedy is very lively, energetic. I describe myself as like I'm very fast, and I've got a lot to say in the short times. And I'd say I'm animated like Lee Evans. So like, you know how he's really, I'm definitely
very
moving.
physical. Yeah.
But yes, I'm very moving with the stories. But again, I could do, as I said, I can go from weight loss to like a holiday story, work stuff, commuting. Again, keeping it real, sometimes keeping it real to what's happening, current stuff. As I said, I was saying to you before, I don't like to just do old material again and again. So, you know, right about now, I've got my talent agency. There's a lot of stuff that happen in the world of my talent agency behind the scene that could be good humor. If I put it into, if I went out tomorrow, I'd do new stuff. You know, I'd do hand modeling. When I became a hand model, oh my God, some weird stuff happened. Like, but I could have got a whole set at that. You know what I mean? If I did a gig that week, it probably would have been about, oh my God, I'm a hand model now. So I go with very fresh, real, current, but it could be about anything that I'm kind of passionate about. Like I sing and I rap. So again, people expect me to sing, but they don't expect me to rap. Well, I was a rapper singer. I'm more of a rapper. So when I do the terrible singing, they're like, oh my God. And I'd say, I'm going to drop some bars or some raps for you before I go. And the people's like, oh my God, what's she going to do now? Like, but then I'm a good rapper. And then the people's like, oh my God, like, it wasn't funny then. Then again, I was just playing with their head because they were looking for a comedy rap, but I'll give them a good rap. I'll be like, yeah, see you later. And their head just like, oh my God, this girl's good, because they thought that was going to be a joke rap. So it's, as you said, it's just playing different, not predictable. You can't really be predictable. She's going to do this. Oh yeah, she's going to give us a Whitney. That's not really great.
I mean, I think back to someone who's a great comedian and entertainer like sadly late Victoria Wood. But yes. I mean, if you remember her TV shows, I know people outside the UK might not even know who that is. But
I don't know why I didn't mention her. She was one of the people.
Yeah, she was definitely very big.
French and Saunders.
French and Saunders, yeah, maybe a bit more internationally known. Certainly Jennifer Saunders was absolutely fabulous as well. Yes. But you know, big influences on my humour, undoubtedly. But Victoria Wood's TV show would be, she would sing a song, and sometimes it would be a comedy song, or sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it would be a real ballad that was from her heart. But a lot of her...
And she was very good. She was very talented. She could play the key. Yes, very talented. And Lee Evans can play piano. So a lot of these comedians, I'm saying, you can do musical. You can... A lot of the comedians, I think Bradley Walsh is comedian musical. A lot of them sing and stuff. And say, I sing and rap. And then there's a whole thing of musical comedy that I didn't really explore. But those great ones, that's what they were doing when they went on TV, using all of it. So I'm saying a comedy could be a joke, or it could be a song, it could be a poem, or as I said, it could just be when you're talking, you can be funny. So comedy is always amongst us. There are comedy, you know, as I said, just musical comedy records, or those spoof records and things like that, you know, when the Michael Jackson Bad, and you just take the mickey out of it. So you can put comedy on anything.
Do you like journal your humor at all, like things you find funny? Do you keep a record or a track of that, or do you...
I don't. That's why even when you asked me, like, great, so I even forgot all the females. I noticed I forgot all the females there, like, but as soon as you said some others, I don't actually journal it. It's just something, as I said, just growing up, it's just been like, my dad was funny and then I was funny, and it's just like, I went out the other day and they're like, oh, the party starts now. It's just like everywhere I just kind of grew up, I was the one that just brought that vibe when I sort of came. But I didn't expect to be a comedian or do it as a profession. And I did many things before comedy, because I say sometimes something's in your face. It was so natural. I never thought of doing it, but I did presenting. I did a TV presenting course. I hosted events. I've done radio. I've done DJ, and I did everything else, but not comedy. But comedy is the last thing I did that brought me back to everything else, which was really weird. I tried for years to be a host and a presenter. I got through some contests and Trouble TV and got to the finals, but I never got a job. But the minute I became a comedian, someone said, can you host? And I said, yeah. And then I started hosting. You see what I mean? Yeah. So it was really weird, but because people look at comedy so highly, that the minute I became a comedian, they just thought I could do anything. Even though I trained for it many years before, but without the comedy, I didn't get the offer, which was interesting.
Yeah, and this is maybe a question I should ask all my guests in the future, but had you gone to be a professional rapper instead of a comedian, what would you be called?
Oh my, I was a professional rapper, darling.
Sorry.
I was a professional rapper.
And your
I
stage
used
name?
my stage name was Caramel G. Copyright. You know that's so hip. It's old school. But I was Caramel G, aka MTG, and I did an album on like my own label called Raising the Game, and it's in Spotify. It's still out there. It's out there in iTunes and stuff like that. So MTG was like, that's my initials. Melanie Gayle, and Caramel G was like sweet and sexy R&B and stuff. I thought I was like the UK Missy Elliott at the time. But I mean, when I go back and I listen to some of my rap lyrics, you'd think I was writing comedy. That's what I'm saying. If you listen to some of my rap songs, they were so cheeky and feisty, like Attitude. You would have thought I was writing comedy rap songs, but I was just putting my attitude on my music. Mm-hmm. But it could almost be comedy. You thinking, oh my God, is she really saying this stuff? But I did as a rap thing, but they definitely could have been some comedy elements in my lyrics that you think, this girl, she's cheeky one. Do you know what I mean? You pick that up even in my rap.
In any kind of speaking or performance, humorous or otherwise, you have to find your voice. Do you feel that you already had that, or is it something that's developed along the way for you?
I think when I first came out in comedy, I had to kind of find my comedy persona for stand-up. For stand-up, you have to have a comedy persona. Because initially I used to come from work. So I might have had on my blazer or like work clothes, shift dress and stuff. And I found like people would come out maybe judging you before. People definitely judge you the minute you step out and they think, what's she going to do and blah, blah. But I think when I had that kind of look with what I was doing, I don't think it fitted because I just came from work sort of thing. But my comedy persona is that I used to be a tomboy. So my comedy persona is like, yeah, when I was high, when I was young, like all the stuff. Probably if I did comedy back then, it's the same sort of energy, but like just today. So it's much more young and energetic. So in the end, I literally changed my hair. So for comedy, I had like a short hairstyle. When I came out again, when I started winning and stuff, I had on this like little short jacket. It was like my lucky blazer. I called it my lucky blazer because that's when I started getting through in comedy finals. So it's like a little short black blazer, vest tops, sometimes with funny writing. I used to have funny writing on my top and stuff, and then just jeans, maybe some bling on it. And then I just came in a more, maybe like a guy, just like a guy maybe. And I think they think I was a bit more, before they thought I was a bit girly, and I was just thinking, oh, maybe too girly-fied. But when I came out a bit more like that, a bit more edgy, they loved my hair. They seemed to love this new comedy look that I had. So I just wore jeans, vest tops. I didn't wear any skirts and that. Initially, I think when I had my skirts and dresses, it wasn't working. And then like just my trainers and that. So I got my image right. And then I think, I had to get that. I think once I got that right, and then that's what the people sort of liked, and my comedy fitted that look. So I think my other look from work didn't fit my comedy.
So it was a case, in some way, a case of dressing the way that you needed to dress and let the character come from that. Did it sort of go that way? Yeah,
because I was bringing a character out. A part of me, it's me, but it's not my work clothes. Right. And as I said, and I'm even in comedy and acting. I do a lot of comedy and characters. And the minute I put costume on, like, so I'm very about what I'm wearing. So even on dress down days at work, I wouldn't go to work on a dress down day in like a hoodie and t-shirt because I just don't even feel like working. So I still would tend to have a blazer or something smart, even if I've got a vest or if I'm doing some kind of movement. I think I take what I wear does make a part of it. I think it does make a part of you. Even if it's just a day job, I know if I put on my hoodie and that, I just didn't really feel like working much today.
It's your uniform, right? I mean, in many ways, it's like making all these things we can do to make that mental transition for this is what I'm doing right now. And so it almost compartmentalizes that in your life and you step into it and you own it. You know, a more extreme example of that would be like drag queens, like when they get into character, and they'll say when they put the final bit of putting the wig on, that's when the character comes
to life. You can see the change, and you know, a normal guy before and after and that, they have to be different. Yeah. And so it wasn't like, sometimes it was just, I said, just the jeans, like I didn't always wear jeans, but it just gave me that little bit of thing that the audience seemed to like that look, and I didn't really deviate from that look, really. Mainly just like a little cool blazer and my jeans and trainers was my main thing.
Yeah, cool. That's really interesting. And I want to ask you a little bit about maybe more the acting side, but it's still relevant to your comedy as well. But the characterization, like what your process is in terms of characterization, other than the look. How do you, when you're acting, get yourself into a character?
Character is everything. From changing my the look, the hair, voice, my tonality. I changed my voice, my movement. To play American, some people do American and just change. Oh, hey y'all, it's not just the voice. American is like, oh my God, girl. It's like they have a whole, it could be a whole movement. So it's not just sitting here. Okay, yeah, I'm talking American now, but I'm still the same person.
Yeah.
It's the whole bravado. Could be, oh my God, girl. I'm telling you, it could be a whole shebang. And the movement. And as I said, in my comedy, I do a lot of movement anyway. So I'm definitely like a movement performer. Every character, from the clothing, the voice, the hair, how the tone, because I talk quite fast and my voice is quite high. I could never play all the parts I play, speak like this.
No.
So I change my voice a lot. If I play mum roles, it's deeper, more slow. Listen, child, I told you, but just tonality. That's what I'm saying. Even if you're doing presenting, tone is important. Acting or whatever. If you're doing presenting, you've got like maybe a boring monotone, or it's just a bit lackluster. That can bring down the room. Yeah, and sometimes you see the people that, because maybe the pacing. Yeah. Obviously, you can't go too fast because you need everyone to hear. So again, I know I might talk fast. I'm trying to talk slow now, but I'm very fast speaker. But in film, I know to slow down. If I'm presenting, I'm very aware of that. But I don't go too slow where the person might nod off. So it's tonality and thing, and looking, engaging with the room. You guys understand? Blah, 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 keeping the people engaged. And you can do that with your voice, changing tones. It's very important in acting, comedy, presenting.
Absolutely. And one of the things that always gets fed back to people in public speaking clubs like Toastmasters that I go to is vocal variety. So if you present anything at one tone the whole time, then you're going to get red to filter. So you're going to get but rightly so, because it's such an important thing to have. And I kind of think long before I was ever presenting, I got really excited one time when I was a student. I'm listening I was in Northampton. I was listening to local radio, and I called into a competition, and I got through and I won.
Wow.
And I was saying to several of my friends afterwards, oh, did you hear me on the radio? And they said, yeah, you sounded like a robot.
Thanks.
I might have been a bit stunned. Maybe it was just being completely overwhelmed.
The shock.
Yeah, the shock of having been actually selected and got through and won. And I don't think what I won was actually anything of any significant value either. But
you can do the shock. Yeah, you probably was in shock. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also voiceover. So voiceover, I do voiceover as well. And I actually just did a job the other day from home remotely, and it's a Caribbean accent. Like I don't sound Caribbean at all. I've got it in my heritage, but for that it was a woman like 45 plus. But I just embodied my gran, and my dad's never even heard this, and I did it, and the people loved it. But I was just doing it like it was my granny, and it was a comedy, like it's a comedy role as well. And I put a lot of ad libs and stuff, and I just sent them a whole lot of tracks back. It made it into the film. They love it, and they now reckon that my character should have a spin-off. Like they love the character that I created, because again, I only had a voice. All I had was 45, 60 Caribbean granny, just woman, and that was kind of it. And then I just had to think, okay, well, none of that is me. So what am I gonna do? And my gran is a character. If you know my gran is a character, right. And the way she says stuff is the way she says stuff herself. Do you know what I mean? It's the only one way she can tell it, mate. And so I took that, and they loved it. So I in a voice, I still had to take the character. It's still a voice. I still had to create a character for the voice that no one can see. And even when I was still reading the voice, I was still doing it like with feeling. I wasn't just, oh, and then she said, do you know what I mean? I was still, and then I was still, I think even in the voice you do more because they can't see you. So I'm very aware of tone and characters, because for voice you have to do that, animation and stuff. You know, you have to bring it to life.
Yeah.
And make it funny sometimes. Comedy. Look at all these symptoms. Yeah. So the voice is can do a lot. Can do a lot.
This is an important aspect to remember for anyone in public speaking. Like a lot of the people who watch and listen to this show are paying attention because they're interested in presenting and public speaking, and probably looking to have some humour come into that as well, because I think nearly all presenters do want to have that in their tool belt. And it occurs to me that a lot of people are going to maybe find themselves in a position where they are not sure how to start introducing that, and they're not sure, you know, really if they have it within them to do that, because I think they forget that this is all a performance. Even if you're getting up and giving a speech, it's a performance.
It is.
And
it is.
Just as much as you doing a stand-up comedy gig or acting on camera, you have to bring that performance energy. You have to bring that characterization. You know, so very often when people are telling stories, for example, in a speech or presentation, they'll be talking about different people, but when the presenter is characterizing those people, you're not necessarily doing voices, but at least bring some characterization into it. That story comes to life. We become a part of that. We kind of forget where we are and we get lost in the story, and that has to happen, because if you're just reading it, that's no performance.
No, that's what I'm saying. The voiceover is a good example of that, because I could just read it. But I know when I was doing, especially, I was like, she's Jamaican granny, and it's like, my son getting a hot spot. Like I was moving, I was doing more than if I wouldn't be doing it like that on camera. Do you know what I mean? But I think you have to really get it across. And I think so in the room again, if you're telling a story and you've got a point to get across, or you want to really stress something, you have to, maybe that's when you're raising it, like, okay, you know, you might be like, but now I want to come talk to you guys about this. Like, you know, just even a pausing of that, you know, again, some people might be fading off, but then just that kind of thing. Okay, now you guys ready for the next level? Like, you guys ready? Like, get them speaking back to you. You get the people back. Okay, did everyone with me? Like anybody, because the worst thing for me is the people that sit down in these rooms and they don't understand stuff. And then the people are like, do you understand everyone? Yeah. That's the worst. Like, and I you know, because nobody wants to be that one. But I love arts and questions. I'm going to be that one that's got questions. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to keep on asking. And so if I do a presentation, I'm saying something, and I say anything, and the people say no, I'm not having it. I'll be like, no way, somebody, and then people start laughing because they're not expecting that. But I'm like, there's no way no one has got a question in this room. So I said, if you don't give me a question, I'm going to pick someone out. And then suddenly, that's the kind of thing I would do. And maybe that's not, I don't know what other people do, but I'm human. And I don't believe that everybody in this room, maybe I'm good at explaining and stuff, but maybe there's something you didn't quite get, or just something you might want to know. If there's 30, 50 people in the room and you throw something out and they just say, oh, no, I'm not even having that. I just don't believe it. And then if you push, then the people come, and then once one person starts, you can't even stop them. Right. Once you get, and suddenly, remember, everyone said no. This is why you always laugh. People said they had nothing to say, but anytime I've done it, when that person starts, you have to kind of, we've got to move on now, because they just need that person to unrelax the room or whatever. It's social proof. It's like, you know, someone else does it, and so it's like, okay, well, it's okay to do it. Nobody really wants to be that first person generally. But sometimes you've got to push it. Because that relaxes the whole room. It relaxes the whole room. When I very first went to personal development events in the UK, and they do these competition bits then, and it was very sort of American style, and get people like Price is Right running to the stage. That's what they wanted. But this was in Earl's Court, you know. This was no. So it's all very timid, and nobody wanted to be that person who was getting up or being demonstrative, and yet now if I did that, I would be that person. It's like,
yes, I'm coming, wait for me. And
That's
I
what I'm
just straight up
saying.
there. Yeah, I wouldn't wait.
But you know,
now,
but at first, nobody does want to be that one.
right.
But so you need that icebreaker, and then suddenly, then they just went, oh, it's all good to speak. When I host live events, I used to host like the London short film, like filmmaker event, and we used to do like a session where they would come and pitch ideas and come up. So we do the networking, we do this, I'd introduce acts, we do Q&A with directors, then we'd throw it to the room. This is filmmakers, actors, and you're like, anyone got anything? And they try that, oh, like, no. And I'm like, guys, you came here tonight, surely one of you, and then literally one of them will come, and then literally the guy's got to stop the event, like, no more, because, and then I say, look, come on, don't be scared. Or even the director Q&As, you get the filmmakers up.
Yeah.
And so maybe the director and the writer, they don't want to speak. Yeah. And then they're at the Q&A and you're like, so tell me about how it started and stuff. And they're not really giving you much. You have to like, look, guys, just relax. Like, just tell us about it. You just got to let them just relax. And then once they start, they feel so much better. And then they say, oh, I made them feel relaxed. So I think sometimes even as a host, you can make the people feel anxious. I think even in your hosting style. Because people say that they felt relaxed, or they never thought I would have come up, but because you said it, I thought, oh, let me try. And so you have to make the people feel relaxed, that they want to speak. And that's why I think if everybody says no, I don't think that's a relaxed room.
Yeah,
I don't think the room's feeling relaxed with me and stuff, and everyone's still a bit standoffish, and that's not going to be the greatest room. So I would try and always engage, get that into action in my talks.
Yeah, there's a level of emotional flexibility that has to come with this as well. I'd say that to get to that point where many people not getting the response that they hope for from an audience would back off and be like, oh well then, which is probably the more expected response. Is
Yes.
Oh well, they're going to be embarrassed, but we're too embarrassed now. We're embarrassed, they're embarrassed, everybody's embarrassed. Let's end there, which is just an awkward way to.
And that makes the whole event awkward, and that's why you can't leave it there. If you leave it there, you're that's like a comedy gig losing the room.
That's what people are going to remember as well. That's
if you don't catch it back there, if you catch it, if you just say anyone, and everyone's like, okay, let's move on, it's still stiff room.
Yeah.
Whatever you say next, the room is not any. It's not any different.
So you have to be willing to go bigger and to go out of that comfort area and say, okay, well, this is what people would normally do, but not, as you said.
Like I said, I never like normal. I don't like predictable. And I know when I've done it, no one's expecting that. No one is expecting me to say, no, mate, come on. Yeah. I mean, I did a Zoom call with like my talent, and I said the same thing with about 20 of my actors on a Zoom. And I told them a whole heap of stuff, and I said, anyone got anything? And they all said no. And I said, no way. There's no way that. And then they started, and you couldn't stop them. So I do it quite often, like on my own Zoom stuff. And I'm a human, and I just believe people always got questions. And I go back to school, and when people say put your hands up, nobody ever wants to be who knows the answer. I used to be that person as well. Sometimes I knew the answer. It's 27. I know it straight away, but you don't want to be the one to get it wrong. Then the people laugh. You don't want to be the one. So people often don't do anything. But now I'm like, whatever, wrong or right, let me give it a try, innit? Let's just try.
Yeah, and I think people will generally nearly always respect that. I sometimes think back to, and I can't try to remember what event this was now. It was some big concert where Ricky Gervais was hosting, and he ended up having to kind of cover a whole big period of time where they weren't ready, and just doing almost like improv, stand up there. And like he got kind of slated for it a lot because it wasn't all funny. He was just pulling stuff out of his head as best as he could, and
not everything he said's funny.
Yeah, and I think he actually did an amazing job. As a comedian, I have a huge amount of respect for him. I think he's one of the funniest comedians going.
Very clever and good writer, isn't he? He's good.
Very clever, a very good writer. Not always everyone's cup of tea, but then nor should he be. That's the whole thing with comedy.
That's the thing. You're never gonna your comedy's like not everybody makes me laugh, and you're never gonna make everybody laugh.
Yeah, exactly that.
That's the reality.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that people often forget is that not everything is for everyone. It's like, if it's not for you, whereas I think, online now, people's like, well, that's not me, or that isn't for me, and so therefore, why is it for anybody? Doesn't please me, so let's get rid of it.
If you don't like it, then start cancelling. This cancel thing. But I say, if you don't like it, just move on, I guess.
And I think that maybe is the whole sort of thing with the cancel culture, is where it really sort of comes from, where it's a bigger problem, is that people can't move on from that, and they get hooked on it. Well, if I don't like it, then nobody should be liking it. Let's finish.
And then they start the Twitter thing, and then everyone groups up together, and then they start the petitions, which are, as I said, there's many things in the past that comedians did, and the comedy that we watched growing up, they probably wouldn't be able to broadcast today.
Oh, most of it, no. Most of it, no.
Right? But it didn't. It's not harmed us in any way. That's what was out at the time, and that's what we watched.
It's not, but there's sometimes things like some sitcoms that were on when we would have been kids, and I'm probably a bit older than you, but some of them, you just wouldn't be able to.
They wouldn't make TV today. They wouldn't make.
Yeah. They wouldn't. And some of it because there is like inherent racism in some of it that was kind of okay at the time, and making fun of foreign accents and things like that we don't do now. And yeah, it's a very different world. But I sort of see big.
But stand-up comedians,
yeah,
used to say some radical stuff, like crazy stuff, all sorts in those big shows and all of that. And it wasn't really regulated. Nobody was trying to cancel. It wasn't really an internet. And I'm not saying that we should go around and say anything, but the thing about comedy it was just supposed to be like a joke. Do you see what I mean? We're supposed to, obviously you've got the terrible one. I'm not, anything that's terrible is terrible. And in general, it's supposed to just be joke, fun. So I say real stuff, exaggerated for me. Any jokes that I say would be coming from like my place or my family or something that I know. So I never tried to do comedy that malice or laughed at people. I had weight. And so I was kind of laughing at myself. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a skinny person. So I'm not really laughing at people, but it's a joke though. The main event of it is to make people laugh. You shouldn't get drama for this. Do
you feel though that there is a social, or should be a social, responsibility in comedy?
I think now how everything is, like now you have to just, I say, you got to be very careful. My comedy was always more about me and my way, and in the end I'd be like, if you're big, let's make noise and celebrating it. I didn't really like laugh at fat people. I didn't laugh at any races or anything. I think once I told some jokes about like short guy, because I'm quite tall and short guys used to always like me. And I noticed like, I just told one joke once that it just seemed that people seemed to take offense to it. And as I'm saying, something, so it was small to me, it's just a little part of my joke, it was funny to us. Oh, you're so tall, Mel, the short guy always goes for you. It was just like something in our circle that was funny. But when I brought it to a wider scale, maybe somebody that's short didn't really like it. Do you know what I mean? That's probably the one joke that I took out of my set, because it wasn't about me. It was about short people, and a couple came up to me at one event and was like, oh, I got a short guy. And I thought, oh my God, like I was only telling jokes. And so I didn't get cancelled or anything, but that's the one joke I ever did where people came to me and seemed to take offense. And I was just like, oh my God, it's only the short thing. But then I just thought, I'll just take it out, because I'm not here to make offense. I just wanted to make jokes. I said, other than that, it was more about me, my stories, nothing. That was the one thing where if you were short, you might have taken an offense. Nothing else in my set would have offended you. Yeah. And so I took that out without, no one told me to. I mean, I don't think it was that bad, but the fact that people came to me at the end, and that's not what I want to do at all, I just wrote a different joke. Do you know what I mean? It's probably 30 seconds of my set. You know what I mean? And I just wrote a different joke, mate.
No, it's interesting because I've done some reading into theory of comedy. Not that I thought it was going to make me funny. I just thought it was interesting, and it is actually a really interesting area. I bought this course book. It's like a series of lectures about theory of comedy, and it kind of sounds a bit dry, to think about. Well, the theory of comedy, that doesn't sound like.
I've got a book somewhere here about how to be a stand-up. I was just talking. There are some books like that, but it's interesting. There is an art, because the thing is, there is an art.
There is, but one of the things that came up in the theory of comedy that I was looking at or listening to, because I had it on audiobook, was about the different ideas of what actually is humor, or whether humor is even moral, because so much of humor kind of punches down seemingly, or is derogatory in some way, and whether that means humor is something we shouldn't really even be aiming for, and yet it's absolutely essential that I think it's actually essential that we have it. And very often in times where, in certain acts where people are making jokes about certain ethnic communities or minority groups, that would be seen as being very offensive. I think it depends on the joke as to whether it's offensive or not.
Depends on the joke. I guess it depends who's telling it as well.
And maybe it depends on who's telling it too. But one thing that has been shown is when that joking is done in the right kind of way, that doesn't actually show that any hate against any particular community. It actually says that those communities are accepted because we can joke about them. We feel comfortable enough to joke about them now. Now we have to be very careful. Like some people will be making, some people do go out there and try and make these sorts of jokes in order to like, we actually don't like them. And
and some people just want to be controversial. Some people just want to be controversial because that's their hype.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, there are still insult comedians around.
Yeah, and that's their hype though, because that's where that they might have been like, oh my god, that did you hear? Like Frankie Boyle, like he crossed a lot of lines, you know what I mean? But he was still getting lots of work. He was getting, I mean, he had a market.
I love
all these guys, they had a market. They, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's what they were doing. People was paying to see them. That was their jokes. You knew what you was gonna get. If you went there, you just knew what you was gonna get. But me personally, when I write my comedy, I don't try to offend. I just want to bring joy and laughter. And that's why if that couple didn't come to me, maybe I would have left it in. But the fact that two people came to me and seemed like they liked it, but this bit seemed like it was a big thing for them, I just took it out. And I've never had anything else in my set. It wasn't really, no one could really come to me, and it wasn't about anybody or any race or anything. That's
the whole thing really, isn't it? Is that if you're doing something that is actually intended to cause offense, then we probably have a problem. And it's probably not even going to be all that funny as well, unless you're actually challenging something in order to push a barrier. But if you're just being offensive,
I think in the end,
or hateful,
when I looked at it, I was just having a laugh at short people. That's it. That was more of a joke for my family and friends. That's what I'm saying. So that's a joke in my circle that I brought to the stage.
Yeah.
But it didn't work there. It was just a joke that should have stayed in our circle and we laugh at it in the club. It's still funny, but it's not funny for everyone on a stage. Do you know what I mean? But it's funny amongst us and our mateys. So I mean, so that's why it's different jokes. And
a short guy comedian might be able to make it work.
But I just I like to just keep it nice. And I said, I'm not here to offend. I just want people to get joy. And the best thing about me was not the money. The joy of making the people laugh is priceless. Like the buzz, just seeing, the pubs, the pub gigs and that, like the people are like there, you know, to see the joy in the faces, that's priceless. If I'm doing a talk and I see the people really, getting their notepad out, really writing stuff, and I'm saying that they asking me stuff, that's a good session for me. A session where people's just saying, this is no good for me.
Yeah, I think a good humour that is aimed to put people at ease is social lubrication for one thing, but it's also great social currency. I think people really admire that, really expect it, and being able to get a whole room of people on the same page and laughing is a massive accomplishment, and as a comedian must feel great.
But the buzz for me is like I'm saying, it's like every room. I think I was saying to you before, like I could write my gig today and I could perform it in Hammersmith and bring the house down. I could go to Brixton, maybe that crowd didn't like those jokes tonight. I could go to Scotland and they might love it. It's the same set, but it's the people in the room. And so I'm saying, I love to bring the joy. So if it worked tonight in Hammersmith, but it didn't work the next day, the room has changed. And that's what I'm saying, you have to adapt. So if I'm coming out to bring joy and I'm doing a set with a good set that I know work, but just maybe in Brixton, it's a different crowd. For some reason, it's just not going down well tonight. I'm not going to feel good if I just carry on doing that set against the crowd that's not feeling it, but I just determined I'm going to still do it because it was great the other night. When you're not got the room, but some people just carry on, or do I make a change now? That's when I've got to just scrap the set and just like go for something fresh, improv, maybe some new bits I haven't tried before, interact to the room. So where do you guys come from tonight? And it's anything to get the people in, because maybe it's just not working with that crowd tonight.
Rather than just
and I want to get joy. I'm not come out here for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15, 20 to go home and say, oh man, what a night that was. Like I didn't leave my house and go Birmingham, Huddersfield, whatever for that.
Yeah.
So you have to get that change. Or I said I've never been heckled. I never had any sort of bad gigs, luckily or thankfully, but I definitely adapted. I definitely started, like sometimes I might start and you think you're going to get that laugh. It's like, oh, it didn't happen. That can throw you. But what you're going to do, you're going to just lose it from there. You got to do something different. Let me try. I don't know. I'll try anything. I'll try body popping. I'll do anything. But by the time I leave, I've got to run that room.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it before when I've been to stand-up gigs and comedy clubs, open mic nights, that some people are clearly determined just to finish the act that they've rehearsed and not veer from it at all, even when it's not working. So,
and then you have to, who are you performing for?
Yeah, just yourself then at that stage, isn't it? Or what if you're getting paid? You're
as you said, they are determined to do that set. They are. Some people are just determined that this is what I'm going to do tonight. That's not good show for anyone.
No,
that's not good show. They're going to go home deflated, and the rooms. That's not good for the partner in the room.
I think that was a really interesting thing that came up from our first conversation together before we recorded, which was about the adaptability and the flexibility. Was that something you found came quite naturally to you, or did you work on it over time and just think, no, I can't be stuck to what isn't working, I have to be flexible with that? Did you just get better at it as you go along?
I think the more you went out there, so obviously like from the first gig, I told you on the first one, I didn't even plan for people to laugh at other spots or do anything in my timeline. The second gig, I might have got through it, but I might have reduced it. And what I found in time is 5 sets, 5 minutes wasn't enough. 15, 20 minutes was better. 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I went to 10 minutes. I realized I only added 2 or 3 jokes because even though it was double the time, it just gave me more time to breathe. So, you know, guys, like before I was so rushed. That's why I was like the Evans, is because I had 5 minutes of stuff to say in the 5 minutes and I had no room for anything else. Racing. And if you go against the time, sometimes if you went over in contest, you get penalized, you'd go out, so you couldn't go over. So in contest, I was just trying to rush and do a lot. Outside of the contest, you might have got 10 minutes there, and then 10 minutes at first you're thinking, oh my God, this is long. But I added like 2 or 3 jokes. And I'm like, how can 2 or 3 jokes make the extra 5 minutes? But it's because I was breathing now. I allowed space in the set. 15, 20, you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. But again, it's a few more stories, but then you definitely got to talk to the people in the 20 minutes. Something about what's been happening out here, where do you guys come from? So I was doing a bit, and I started hosting along the way. So as a host, I turned up blind. I just turn up. I never had anything prepared for hosting. Other than can I have the lineup? Sometimes the set's at 7 o'clock, the show's at 7. I turn up at 10 to 7. The guy's having a panic, the promoter's pulling his hair out. I'm like, look, can you just give me the lineup, please? And they're like, don't you need to, I said, rehearse what? Like I'm saying, what can I rehearse for me in a live show? Anything can happen, isn't it? You can't rehearse a live show until anything can happen. So what I need is just to know what is planned, and I fill in the blanks. So I just need to be here before it starts. But the promoters used to panic because, I enjoyed hosting so much. I just come out there, you guys all right? Obviously, I might do some research on the acts or a little bit of knowledge. But again, as the host, engage in the room, you got to, welcome, you guys ready for a good night? And they might be like, oh yeah. I'm like, no. Are you guys? So I always do, even if they give me a rule, I'm like, no. I always say that you can do better than that, guys. Come on. Yeah, but it's just getting the people more into it, And then we make some noise for the talent. So I'm just there to hype up as the host. I'm there to hype up, engage, keep it moving to the time. You don't really rehearse that.
No. So, well, you kind of provided some clips of you presenting. So let's share some of that for the audience. I think that's certainly some people listening may even find themselves more likely in a presenter position than perhaps stand up. Although I encourage people to try everything.
Try everything. Yeah.
You haven't done it before. Try that.
Oh wow.
Here we go.
Good evening. How you guys feeling? Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Greenwich University Greenwich Film and TV Awards 2018. #GRAFTA. Don't know who came up with that, but it's genius, yeah? Use it on social media. I'll just introduce you to myself. My name is Melanie Gayle. I'm an actress, comedian and host, and I'm very proud and honoured to be here today to present this year's awards. I'd just like to say I actually had the pleasure of working with some of the students here. Make some noise if you're out there. Okay, I did actually work with some of the students here earlier this year, and I just have to say the production value, I said to Lucy, they were very, credit to the university, the scripts, the way that they worked, they even gave me really good direction, and it's one of my favourite projects today. So well done to you all, I'm wishing you all the best of luck. So you guys ready for the show? You guys are the best crowd, I tell you, the best crowd. But before I start the award show officially, I'd just like to welcome to the stage.
So even from that,
Thanks,
you know,
Sarah.
that's you as yourself, but you're presenting and you can see there's energy.
Energy.
It's pumped, it's energy.
It's
It's not just
energy.
going out there. Well, welcome to the awards show. It's really nice to see you all. You know,
No, I'm really buzzing.
Yeah.
I'm really buzzing. I really did enjoy that event. As I said, like my hashtag that I use is do what you love, and I don't do anything unless I love it. I love film. I worked with the student filmmakers just by chance. That the lady asked me to host it. Do you know what I mean? And I never hosted anything like that before.
Yeah.
They were streaming it live. So the first year students were filming it and streaming it live as part of their training for the first years. I literally turned up. We had a rehearsal. Everything was going wrong in the rehearsal. All the programming stuff wasn't working. They told me just take a break, Mel, take a break. And I came back and that's the event that was just smooth. Everything just, when I came back, I think they really nailed it all.
Yeah.
And so that one should have been probably an hour and we did it in 50 minutes because it actually, and I was like, oh my God, it just went smooth. And I had to bring people up, the speakers, but again, it's running to time. We were ahead of time there. It's quite a formal event and yeah, I just went for it. None of that is written. It's just, I'm just saying whatever.
Yeah.
It's on my head.
Often gets said in speaker circles, generally the audience aren't going to complain if you let them out early rather than running massively.
They go to the bar, you see more drinks. Yeah, if you go over, so a job as a host is also to keep it to timing. So even if I do go over, not too long, if the people's talking, you got to do it in a nice way. Thank you very much. So there's lots of things you still have to do, but do it nicely. But sometimes you have to end people's, like, okay, brilliant. You have to still do all of that if the timing's going over. So you have to keep the time, keep the room engaged. And as I said, I think when you have real knowledge or passion, and I don't need to write stuff. If I had no love for film or TV and I didn't know what was going on, that probably would be not a good gig for me to host. But I love film and TV. A comedy gig, a music event, anything like that is a good event for me to host. And I'll have that energy there.
Yeah, and one of the energy definitely shows, and one of the things that is very clear for me as a speaker and presenter as well is that that performance energy can only happen when you're out of your own head. You say about doing what you love, but I think you have to love what you do while you're doing it as well.
Yes.
And so, you know, even if you don't necessarily love presenting, love what you're doing whilst you're doing it, and have as much fun with it as possible, because that energy has to come from there.
I love engaging with people, though, you see. So the fact is, if I love the subject matter, is great. But if you see in that little clip, how much times did I get that woo out of the people? Come on, guys! Like, and if you at the night, they're like, but I'm getting them involved.
Yeah.
Like everything I do, I give a clap. Like if I'm doing, come on, give them a clap. Like it's just getting them involved in the energy. Like just bringing them into it as well.
We've probably all seen those kinds of presentations where people kind of get forced to do it and they don't really want to be there, and you can tell they don't really want to be there on the stage, or they're looking on the stage thinking, I kind of want to do this, but I'm really worried what people are thinking, what they're thinking right now.
You don't want to force.
And they're in their head, and their energy is inward rather than outward directed, which it absolutely can't be. And I think for most people, it's natural generally to have some fear and butterflies or energy, but if you utilize that and send it outwards for the audience, it comes back.
It's impossible to not respond to the energy that I'm giving there. Because even I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God, like I haven't seen it for a while. Do you know what I mean? But there's energy there. So if you're in that room, it's even more heightened in the room. So if somebody's like, oh my God, I'm so great, and you're really feeling that, you know when it's fake. If I was in there saying, oh, what a great evening, I'll just really, people know, you know what I'm saying? It's got, you can, there's acting and there's reality in it. I mean, I could just say, oh, it's so amazing, I'm so glad I'm here, but it doesn't sound like it, does it? But you could see from my hands, like, wow, like my eyes, so the people can see, oh my God, she's really happy about being here. Oh my God, they're totally into it because it's real. Like, there's no way
energy
to be in that room and not be going woo woo. It'd be impossible.
You absolutely lifted that room whilst you were there presenting, which is critical.
They said that someone did it the following year. I don't want to be bad, but they said someone did it the following year, and they said no. They said this. They got some kind of like clown kind of comedian guy, but he came with some different style. He's just saying this. It's everyone's got different styles. I think they went for a different style the following year. And I know some students still there said, no. They said that we're glad that you did it when we was there, But again, that was You know, if you ask me to do anything and I say yes, I'm going to be bringing that energy, or I'm not coming. That's just how I work. If they asked me to do that and I wasn't even feeling good, or it just didn't feel up to it, then I don't do anything if I'm not really feeling it, because as I said, it's all the energy, just what I had, just what you come to know from me. So if I came off and I was a little bit off, they'd be like, that's not Mel, like it's just not right. So I'm actually known for my energy. Yeah, people always ask about my energy quite a lot.
So, I mean, I like that. You say yes and you commit to it, and you don't just commit to it. You say, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it big.
Big. I'm going to do it big. I don't do anything small. I don't want to come half. Oh yeah, I'll just do it like this, whatever. I don't have those attitudes.
You can't be in that space of, well, what if I mess it up? What if I screw it up? You know, because if you keep that in your mind, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just go yourself, let's see what happens. Let's have fun with this.
Yeah, I come in here. That's not really what I do, but I love it. I haven't got a script or anything. I'm going to tell you a bit about myself. Welcome. You guys ready for a great night? Let's go. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just keeping it moving.
It's so much the case. I often say to people when I'm working with them on their presentations about if you're having fun, then your audience is going to.
It's contagious. It just passes on.
Yeah, have fun, and have fun for them, because they need you. They need that permission to interact and say, okay, this is fun. We can have fun with this. Because not that every presentation has to be humorous or funny, but
not fun, but engaging.
Yeah.
It has to feel a part. Like I remember, like, you know, you used to do those work training courses, and like I got the corporate background, but you know, you used to be on those courses and you're struggling to keep your eyes open. Like I used to hate training courses in the workplace. It was like, oh my God, when's this going to end? Or that meeting is just like, those things is just not engaging. Maybe the subject's I have to be engaged. Like I can switch off in a heartbeat, and I'm real. Anything I do, I'm just real about it. So I know I've been in those rooms, and if I think about it, there was maybe a subject matter that maybe I already know about. Maybe they're just rambling. Maybe
it's just data heavy. Yeah.
Maybe we've heard it already. Maybe the way they're saying it's not interesting. Maybe it's just like you're just not winning me or the room. Yeah. And there's no energy in the room, and everyone's looking at the clock. A room like that is quite often in training courses and stuff like that. Yeah, that kind of training workshops.
Yeah,
I know I fall asleep. I can fall asleep.
Those dreams are just wasting everybody's time, because no one is going to remember a damn thing from it.
No one's not paying attention. No. So I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. If I'm in one, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're doing that, you must at some point realize the people's not. And as I said, it's like those people are determined, like a bad comedian, to just carry on and deliver this workshop, despite the room not having any interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not trying to lift it, and they're going to carry on doing that for the next 5 or 10 years. Because at some point, you have to make a change, or people's not going to sign up anymore to those courses. Do you know what I mean? When they put the feedback in, it's not going to be good. Yeah. So when I try to do a workshop or something, I'm very aware of how I've been on the other side. And I don't want that person to be sitting down like I did, or when's she going to stop talking? So I make sure I don't do something like what I didn't like. So we've all been on the other side. Yeah. So when you're delivering it, I've got to make sure I'm not doing that. What I saw was wrong, and then do it in my style.
Yeah.
But I'm very aware people dip off. People dip off quite. Attention span is not really high these days.
No. You give people an inch and they'll be on the mobile phone for an hour. That's really what happens, isn't it? You know, you lose the engagement. I do a lot of online training, webinars, group coaching, that kind of thing, and I know that if I don't keep the energy up, if I don't keep calling people back to be engaged, if I feel like the engagement is dropping off, I know that they're either on their phones or they're on Facebook or wherever else, and I need to bring them back.
You have to bring them back.
But it is the responsibility to a great degree of the host, and to sort of say, well, here's the boundaries, be here for yourself and get the most out of this. But also I have to keep the energy high as well. And my natural style is probably kind of laid back. I'm a very laid
Everyone has their own style. That's the thing. Everybody, as you're saying, we're not saying everybody must be funny, but then it must be engaged or something. But everybody has their own style. Yeah.
But for those kinds of things, I have to turn the energy up. Otherwise I'm going to lose people. It's like, it's one thing if I'm sort of having a chat or a conversation and we can have that sort of more relaxed style, but even for this, you know, it's like my natural style might be a bit too slow for a podcast. I still bring the energy, because even here, being myself right now, it's still some kind of performance. It's still some kind
it's
of,
still engaged. Like, you're engaging me, we're engaging, and you know, there's still energy. It's energy for me is everything.
energy is
Energy
everything.
is everything. That's another one I use quite often. Energy is everything.
Yeah, and especially when in the presenting and speaking world and comedy world as well. You know, if you haven't got the energy, you know, you can make a kind of low energy character and make comedy through that. But you still have to bring performance energy into doing that.
You have to be the performance energy, even in a low energy character. Yeah.
One thing that is really interesting, and I want to bring it back to the story kind of thing, because I know some of the people watching them thinking, well, it's all, you know, good and well, and Mel's very funny, but I'm not sure if I can do it. How could somebody start to maybe create or construct a story that might have some humor in it? What would be your recommendations to people trying to find some humor?
As I say, the key thing is, as I say, it's the way that you say it. So it's a story, but if I just read it like in a book, then maybe it's not. So it's the way you're going to tell it. And as I said, my stories may not even have big punchlines, but there'll be something funny that happens in the story. Remember, as a comedian, you can never laugh at our jokes. So you have to just load it up. You just have to load it up. But the storyteller it's not really like the punchline that's going to come, but the whole thing might be funny. So if I was doing a story, even if you're presenting and you're telling a story about your past in it, like, you know, when I was growing up or whatever, and make it relatable and real. If you're going to bring anything in, don't just go on something that's so far away that people can't relate. So, you know, if you could always do something, you know, talk about trains, anything where people can relate in your story, make it relatable, keep it real. But I think the key to every speaker is being you. I think in voiceover, the key in voiceover is your voice. Joanna Lumley voice, you know Joanna Lumley's voice.
Instantly.
It's Joanna Lumley.
Yes.
Yeah? That is it. She can do comedy and everything, but the minute she opens her mouth, you know it's Joanna Lumley. People said to me, like, they know my voice. Some people just have a distinctive voice. Yeah? So you use your voice, but you be you. So I'm not trying to say anyone must be me or be you, but what I always do is just put myself on the other side. So again, if I was going to do tell the story, like, you know, what would make me like it, or when I heard other people tell a story, what didn't I like? I'm more in the reverse. I'm more about what when I hear stories, what don't I like? What was it? Was it boring? What was it about that why I didn't like it? How would I have done it differently? That's what everyone tells a story. And some people tell me a story and I'm like, oh my God, when you gonna get to the main bit? Yeah. So again, so if I'm telling a story, you have to get it succinct, you have to get it key part in telling that story, the key punches and your energy or however you are. But I know I'm very careful of dragging it out. Get in there quick, especially if you've got a tight set or if you've got a tight timeline. Keeping the story there. Sometimes the connect is, you know, when I was 2. When you were 2, how much years are we going to catch up to? I'm 50 now. Like, it's way too far back, right? Yeah. Like, so, yeah, when I was 2 and then when I was 4, and people's like, are you serious, mate? Right? You've gone way too far back. So maybe you round up there, because that's what some people like to do. Let me tell you about myself. But you go into stuff that is not relevant. So I'm saying keep it relevant to what you're doing. So I'm saying, I don't know what story you might do as in a presenting thing. You normally might just be telling a story like, you know, so when I was doing this, you know, before I started, or some kind of story about why you're here today. But that has got to be about the course or whatever you're speaking about, key reasons and factors about, and if there's a funny story about it, drop it in. But as I said, there may not be a funny story, but whatever it is, just keep it exciting. Like, oh, you know, like you guys, if I was in a course on comedy now, you know, I'm going to come out, you know, I'm a comedian, award-winning, blah, blah, blah. But look, when I was 2, my dad said I was funny, you know, and then when I went to school at 5, like, no one wants to hear all of that. Just cut forward to the main punchy bits, the selling pointers, and why they want to listen to you as well. Why do they want to listen to you today?
it's all in the editing. It's all in what you take out of it. You can't have anything extraneous, really. And I think even more so in comedy, whereas like, you know, you have to be there's even rhythms to it and things like that that have to fit. So you can't have stuff in there that doesn't need to be there.
Doesn't need to be there. Make it as current, relevant. You know, just enough interest that I would say, wow, I really want to hear what this person's going to say. Do you know what I mean? Because I said in a presentation, you might not really be telling stories as jokes as I do.
Yeah.
But somebody might say something, and you might be like, "Oh my gosh, I remember something." Yeah. But so you can drop something in like that in a story, but keeping it short and interesting, I think.
Yeah. But that's a good habit.
Anyone can tell a story.
It's a good habit to have in life, though, because you know, I do lots of group coaching work. Some of them might even listen to this, and I'm sorry if this is you and you're listening to this, but some people, you ask a question and you get the life story, as you say. You know, you get you know, going right far back, or I start. You know, you're asking them, well, what would you like to achieve? Well, you know, we had this problem years ago, and then this happened, and my wife said this, and then my kids were. That's not why I asked you.
You didn't get the answer yet.
Yeah, you're providing all this background information that I don't need and I didn't ask you about, and nobody else wants to listen.
Nobody else wants to know today.
So please get to the point right now.
Get to the pointers. You know, as I said, if it's something, so if you're doing a talk about sports or whatever you're speaking about, make your story relevant to that. I'm saying that's the only kind of stories you'll be telling your stuff to make them relate or get them more engaged in that. It's not necessarily to make them laugh. But it's just maybe to show them that, you know, I was like you. So again, if I did comedy talks, I could tell them, God, when I first did my first thing, they might laugh at it. The story might be funny. I've got stories for days. So so that would be an easy course for me to do, the art of comedy or something about comedy.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. I think I was lucky enough a few years ago I was on my honeymoon and we were in Vegas, and we got tickets to go and see Cher. Because why wouldn't you? And it was amazing. You know, she's an incredible performer. She's the same age as my mum, and she looks
good, right? She's amazing.
She looks amazing. She performed an amazing set, and in between some of the songs, she would do these just chewing the cud with the audience, just chatting about general things, and none of it was really going in any particular direction, but it was so interesting. You know,
just get a piece of Cher, I guess, to get something more than the record.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of that, but you know, she's like talking about stories from like back when she was first started out with Sonny and things like that. And it's not necessarily relevant, but it is interesting.
Yes,
it's like, I would listen to that woman for.
But the thing is, when would you hear that? When have you heard it before? Like something like that is she can get away with that.
Absolutely. She
with her fans in Vegas. Do you know what I mean?
Because people are hanging on it, and there's like, oh, please tell us stories about what it was like for you when you first got started with Sonny, or people who tried to stop you progressing in the music industry and things like that. It's like,
I'm saying everyone's got stories. That's what I'm saying. Everyone's got stories. Doesn't matter what you do, but as they say, it's the way you say it.
It is.
And as I said, I'm the worst person to have a story told to me. As a storytelling comedian,
you're analysing it, right?
I'm just like, oh my God, can you fart? I'm just constantly, okay, can we get to 2020 now? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of people I find, that's what I always do. Oh my God, I've got a friend, it's just like the worst. I'm just, So I'm not the best person to tell a story if you're a bit long, basically.
But you could be a great person to coach people on if they want to improve their
I think I should do coaching for this. I probably will offer some kind of coaching for this because it's natural to me.
I think there's a demand for it, Mel, and I think you'd be very good at it. Yeah.
If there's a demand for it, you know, and it's I say, it's anything I do. So if I do it, I'm only going to do it with love and to help and really give the people the knowledge. And I think, as I said to you, some things is right in front of my face, so you don't see it. Comedy and acting coaching, I do so much with my talent, and my talent's doing so well at my agency that a few people have said to me, can I do coaching, like even like around the world acting and stuff, and motivation even for business, and I think the key to all of the things that I do, all of them, no matter what, it's my energy, it's the passion I put into it. The passion is important, but yeah, I think if it was a business person or somebody, because I said you don't have to be funny like stand-up,
No.
but it's just no understanding, as I'm saying, how to tell it. So I'm saying, even if I was to look at someone's presentation, it might be interesting for me to see someone do a presentation in their style and then see me do it, the same thing, because I'm sure it would never be the same.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And maybe sometimes you're just in your style because that's all you know. Maybe you need to see somebody else do it.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, because we do a lot of self-tape auditions at the moment for film and stuff. And sometimes 5 of my talent go for the same part. But they don't do it the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get to see all of the differences. They don't. And then sometimes you got like 2 that's like amazing, but they're so different. So I'm saying, so there's no wrong or right. So I'm saying, so I'm not here to sit down and tell presenters your presenting style is not good or anything like that. But maybe I could look at the way that some people's doing it and just offer another way that maybe they haven't seen, because not everyone, you're not going to, maybe you haven't seen another presenter's thing, or somebody try your thing, or like, you know, someone try and do your set, you know, someone try your comedy set, you try someone else's, and see what comes out of it. So sometimes it is good to just try it from a different angle.
Yeah, which is a good idea for any kind of presentation or performance, really, to keep doing that. And if you don't have the insight, or if you're feeling stuck on that, get some outside help and get some outside perspectives. So that will probably give you what you need.
Because it could be little tweak, you know.
Could be
a little tweak.
You know, one of the biggest progress levels of progress I ever made as a speaker and presenter was hiring a coach to help me.
Right.
And I did that after losing a competition that I thought I was going to win. And I was like, I get in my head about these things afterwards, and then go into but why did I lose? Why didn't I win? I had a really good speech on this, and I look back at it and thinking, I was like, at the time I didn't like losing, of course, but it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because it got me to a point where I was thinking, I can do better than this. I was already thinking, I'm already pretty good, and I'm already up there. And there was this whole area of growth that I didn't even know about, that my coach introduced me to. I was like, wow.
How long did you have coaching for then?
Oh my gosh, about 8 months.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
And I will still go back for more coaching from experts in the future as well. I may go back to the same guy in the future, because it's been so valuable in terms of development. Because sometimes you don't know what you need to know in order to develop, and that's
what I'm saying. Is sometimes you don't know. Maybe sometimes, like, a lot of people are visual. You know, so I'm saying some people are visual learners. So I'm saying sometimes it's good to see someone else do your thing.
Yeah.
And just to see someone else do your own thing, where you would never have seen it, because sometimes could be a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very visual. I can do that. Even if I vlog, I don't blog. I'm more of a, if I do a biography or book, it'll probably be a video book. Like, I'm more very visual. And at work, we did the art, which styles that you learn on these visual studies. And it said I'm a visual learner. A lot of my talent, if I try and explain something, sometimes they don't get it, but give them a video. Talk to them on a video, on visual, they'll get it, sometimes more than the text. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes a presentation, you might have it so set in your way, but then maybe you sit down and let someone do it to you, and you see if it's engaging, isn't it? That's what I'm saying. I think people don't go on the other side enough.
Yeah, the majority of people are more strongly visual in terms of
very visual,
but realistically, we need all of them in terms of learning styles. My research, even have a guest on recently who was talking about learning styles. So we're kind of moving past that in the education sphere now, because it's like we are all of them. Whatever.
Yes, we have to learn all of them. We have to do all of them, but I think a lot of creatives.
Yeah.
Somehow visually it just really sinks.
But our brains work more visually.
Yeah.
So we tend to be more responsive to visual cues and responsiveness than
especially a lot of creative arts, a lot of creative stuff. I seem to think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, there's a whole different pathway to explore there, and we kind of need to be drawing things to a close for today. But I knew this was going to be a fun conversation.
And
it's been fun, it's been interesting, and I really enjoyed every minute of it. And I wonder if there are any resources that you might be able to recommend or direct people to that might help if they're wanting to work on their humour or presentation performance.
There was a book that I had. There was some kind of book that somebody gave me. I don't know if I read it, but there was some kind of book about stand-up, something about getting into comedy. I recommend comedy courses, because even as in the corporate world, And all the directors and stuff, they used to struggle with their presentation. Nobody wanted to do the speaking. And they would do introducing comedy courses in the corporate world. So they knew comedy would help in business. So even a little course that I did, it may help if someone did a comedy course or workshop, not to stand up, but to learn the art of it, and then applying that to your stuff. So again, look on Google for any local. I've even told actors, because some actors are very stiff, and in commercials they love comedians. So in commercial castings they love comedians because we'll let ourselves go. A lot of actors sometimes are very stiff. Oh, theatre darling, or that. They don't want to be silly. Sometimes you need to be silly. And so I recommend even actors sometimes do comedy just to loosen up a bit. So the speaker, business person, a comedy course is a good pointer. Any book or anything about the art of comedy, and I think I think being confident. So any sort of book, self-help books. I just read things like The Secret. I just read things like that, Secret Law of Attraction. I'm more on a positivity with the comedy. I didn't really read up about the comedy as such, apart from that one course. But everything else I do is more positive energy, and then that just all works in with the comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I've read some books on stand-up comedy and even like writing comedy for sitcoms and things like that. And I found a lot of them to be very useful. But I think more than anything, the thing that is useful about it is getting into that habit of thinking in those sorts of ways. And the more you do that, the more you start to find it.
Thinking.
Yeah.
You have to be a quick thinker. As the host, you have to think quick. If something goes wrong, something, so it's quick thinking. So maybe the art of comedy might help you with that.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be a people person to be a good speaker. Beyond comedy. Right. So I have comedy, but I'm a people person first. So I'm always going to be concerned for the people in the room, if it's the audience or the speaker, the people that's come to hear my comedy or come to hear me speak. I did one with some youth, like 13 to 19. And they told me that they're not, these kids, they're not going to like it, or they don't pay attention. The kids didn't want me to leave. They loved it. But I just went to their level. I just used their talk, how they speak. So you have to relate to the rooms and stuff. So comedy is a part of it, but finding your voice, finding you will deliver you need to find you as well. I think.
And wanting to connect with the audience as well.
And what do you want to bring to them for them to connect with? And that's the key. And then you can make it funny after that, maybe. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if you're having fun with it, the humor will start.
The people will come. So sometimes it's not just fun, but energy is a vibe. You just make the people feel good. They might just feel motivated, uplifted. You know what I mean? That's what you want them to come away. Oh, that was really good. That was worthwhile, and tell other people about it. Yeah.
Melanie, where can people come and find out more about you?
Okay, Google. You can go on Google Melanie Gayle. I've got my website, Melanie Gayle, GAYLE.co.uk. I've got my talent agency, MelanieGayleTalent.com, where I represent actors and comedians. I'm on IMDb if you want to see my film history. I've got a web series coming out on YouTube on the 1st of September called Having a Field Day, where I'm playing a silly character called Sheila, which I love. I think just follow me on MelanieGayle.com, on Instagram, Twitter. I'm on all the socials, LinkedIn.
We'll put these links in into the show notes, and by the time this goes out, your web series will be up as well. I should think.
Oh my God, yes, they can check that out. And if they want to hear the rap stuff, it's Caramel G. Look for me on Spotify and all that.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna check it out in a minute myself.
Might come back. You never know.
There you go.
You never know, some comedy hits.
Well, absolutely. I'm gonna be keeping an eye out for you as well now, and
good
certainly,
to speak to you, John.
It's been a real pleasure. You've shared a lot of really great information, given some really nice insights, and it's been a lot of fun. So, Melanie,
it's been fun too. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe. If you are on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. I'd love to know if you're enjoying the show and if there's anything we can do to improve it for you in the future. Lots more great guests coming up, including continuing the series in comedy and humour in presentations, and much more besides. So please make sure you like and subscribe for future episodes. See you again next time.